Good morning. Dominic Miller, Environmental Health Manager. Today I'd just like to offer some insights into a project that the city has long considered as much needed and greatly supported as a service to our neighborhoods. So, Project NICE, Neighborhood Improvement Complaint Easement. Project Keep Environmental Enhancement Permanent, celebrated its 33rd birthday last week. So what is Project NICE? It's an opportunity for residents in selected neighborhoods to bring out any of their unwanted items to the curb, and volunteers with the City of Sioux Falls will come by and remove those unwanted items. I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the process and how the neighborhoods are selected. So starting in January of each year, we reach out to our civic analytics team, and they produce for us what is called the dot map. It's a map of the City of Sioux Falls, literally populated with dots, each dot representing a code case from the previous year. Civic analytics also has the ability to overlay crime statistics and poverty rates and things of that nature. So using all that information, we can determine which neighborhoods have some vulnerabilities and could likely be, we could use our resources best to help out those neighborhoods. So how did this come to be? Again, it's about 33 years ago, so it's over 3 decades now. The city saw a need to not only help alleviate some of the health nuisance code case work for our inspection team, but also to assist residents in removing some of these unwanted items if they don't have the capability to get them to the landfill themselves. The city, as we all know, continues to grow rapidly year after year, but at least for our health nuisance code case work, our number of code cases has remained relatively static over the years, in large part thanks to Project NICE, Project Keep. So, why do we want these items, these unwanted items, removed from the neighborhoods, from the properties? Well, first of all, if they were left to accumulate, we'd likely get a complaint, and we'd likely start a code case because ordinance determines that. But why? Why does ordinance specifically talk about these type of items? So if they were left to accumulate, they could create harborage for insects and rodents and things of that nature. But also they could be an unsafe but yet alluring opportunity for kids to come and play in. So that's why ordinance is determined that we need to get rid of those. So I would like to share a little bit with some of the numbers from last week. They're kind of still rolling in. Public Works is still, they're still hauling some stuff to the landfill and finishing up with some of their totals. So I don't have all the numbers yet, but I'll be sure to share them with Allie and Colleen, and we'll they can get them to you. But so this year we helped between the 2 neighborhoods that were selected. 4,000 residents were helped with removal of their unwanted items, and then some of the specific numbers that I do have share with you today. 985 tires were removed, 577 mattresses, and 20 dump truck loads of tree branches. So as I wrap up my portion of today's briefing, I'd like to circle back to one of the comments I made about how it's greatly supported. It needs to be mentioned how this project, I can't think of a single department in the City of Sioux Falls that doesn't contribute to this in some way, large or small. With the 110 plus volunteers that left their day-to-day work to come out and literally walk the miles from pile to pile, picking stuff off the curb, putting it in the loader buckets. I've already mentioned civic analytics and how they help us communications with pushing out the information both internally and externally, risk management, making sure that this is done as safely as possible, parking, who gives us usage of the parking ramps so our volunteers can gather before they head out to the field. Vans that we get from public or from police and Sioux Falls Fire Rescue to haul our volunteers out. HR, who coordinates the volunteer list. Parks Department picking up branches. I could literally name every department. It's truly is the term we like to use is one team effort. I do want to take a minute though to specifically recognize Public Works. Without Public Works, there is no Project Nice, there is no Project Keep. So I did want to make a special mention to thank Public Works for all their support in this as well. All right, so removing unwanted items aren't the only things that a neighborhood and neighbors can do to keep their neighborhoods remaining friendly and inviting and safe. Kevin Smith is going to join us today now to talk a little bit about some of the other ways that it's helpful to be a good neighbor. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Kevin Smith, Assistant Director of Planning and Development Services, and along with all of the other activities our department provides to the community, managing growth and development, we also have a property maintenance team that works alongside Nick's teams in the health department and dealing with specific nuisances. Generally, hours this time of year begin with nuisance vegetation. So the goal today is to help communicate to the residents of Sioux Falls to remind them that we do have a standard of no more than 8 inches in height can your vegetation be, and also that you need to control your noxious weeds. And with the warmth and the moisture that we've had and we're going to have, things are going to start growing rather quickly. And having this information available to everybody, just as a reminder, avoid the violation, right? That if your lawn does get to be over 8 inches in height, chances are someone's going to call us. And last year, I think we responded and performed about 2,000 inspections on properties where we'd received complaints about overgrown vegetation. And the way the process works is if you, as a resident, see a lawn or a yard property that's overgrown, you can call 367-6900, or excuse me, 978-6900, or go to the city's website at siouxfalls.gov, look under resident services to report it. But if you're going to do that, please be specific. Don't just give us a general area. If you know the address, it makes it easier for our teams to go out. We'll perform an inspection. If there's a violation, we'll send a letter to the property owner, property manager, and give them 7 days to make the correction. If they don't make that correction, we'll do a reinspection, and then the property owner is going to receive a $100 citation and whatever bill that we have from our mowing contractors. So depending on the level of severity, if it's a greatly overgrown large yard, that mowing bill alone can be hundreds of dollars along with the $100 citation. So again, the message today is be aware of the nuisance vegetation ordinance. It's been in place for a number of years, and we are transitioning away from the sidewalk snow removal season, hopefully. And similarly, as the seasons change or as new residents come to Sioux Falls, if they're not aware of these community standards, again, we want them to be aware. First, avoid that situation of having someone contact us to complain about your property. And secondly, if you do see a property, 978-6900, siouxfalls.gov, you can contact us. We will follow up on every one of those. And sometimes it's a violation, sometimes not. But certainly if there's a violation, we do have inspectors in place who will go out and respond to those. So something else that we've seen in the last few years is that with the city's parking strip ordinance, and this is another added facet to beautifying Sioux Falls, right, is that you as property owners can plant certain varieties of flowers and other vegetation in the parking strip or in the boulevard and along your street, but those plants can't grow above 3 feet. So we've got the nuisance vegetation for weeds and grass, but there's also the parking strip ordinance, which we have seen people plant vegetation that grows 4 feet high in the boulevard. It does pose a visual impediment to motorists, to people backing out of driveways. And rather than us having to go out and deal with that in terms of a code violation, if you're going to consider planting something other than grass in your boulevard, look into the city's ordinance. Got a copy of the brochure right here with me. It's got some planting suggestions, so we can't see people growing sweet corn in their boulevard, which has happened, because sounds like a really good idea until you've created a visual problem for motorists or for your neighbors. And along with that, again, we do a lot of work with the health department on teamwork in terms of code enforcement. So we're always available to answer questions. If residents wonder can I do this? Can I not do it? Can my neighbor do this or not? We're available. And the last thing I'd just like to mention before we open this up to questions is that the city's landfill pass is now available, and that is a project through the Public Works Department and the Sioux Falls Regional Landfill, where if you are a resident of Sioux Falls, you can take one load out to the landfill. And in years past, the landfill sent out postcards, but that didn't reach everyone, especially apartment dwellers. So I think for the last couple of years, and this year in particular, all you need to do is have your driver's license or your ID scanned when you get out to the landfill to hopefully open up that program to additional residents of Sioux Falls and help us keep the community clean. So with that, I'll turn it over back to Nick. If there's any questions of health or of myself, we got a few minutes, so any questions?
Kevin, and maybe this is for Nick, the Project Nice and Keep, which has been very popular over 30 whatever years, has also kind of become the great free rummage sale, scavenger hunt, whatever you want to call it. Is that a bad thing? Are you, because it's pretty obvious, but are you against that? I mean, is there anything wrong with people going and poking through the garbage, and not garbage, but refuse, and taking a footstool or an
I'll let Nick answer that one.
My understanding is that it's prohibited by ordinance. Any dumping or scavenging through and removal. It's set out on the edge of the curb, but it's still the resident's property, right? It's waiting to be removed, but until it is, it's still their property. So we know what happens. It's a difficult, if not impossible, thing to prevent. Yeah.
On the lawns, I've personally gone to a very limited mowing schedule, and I'm wondering, after the whole popularity of no mow May and all that, which has kind of gone away, are you seeing more people just not mow, even if it doesn't get to 8 inches, and then people complain because their neighbor's not mowing, but it's not 8 inches, it's just not as pretty as everybody else's?
Good question, and one of the things we do hear about, especially early, because I've seen them as well, is the amount of dandelions that are popping up right now. And as we like to say, dandelions are obnoxious, but they're not considered noxious. So unless the lawn is all of it's over 8 inches, we typically don't respond to things like, hey, my neighbor's yard's just got a lot of dandelions in it. But for us, really, the issue is the magic 8 inches in height. So as long as it's being mowed and maintained, we really don't get into the aesthetic qualities of lawns, because everyone has their own personal standards, right? We don't expect the lawns to look like, the 17th fairway at Augusta National Golf Course, but they need to be mowed. Basically, it's a community standard, and we're trying to uphold that
Are you, there's also a movement to have more native species, less Kentucky bluegrass, less fertilizer, less chemicals. Does the city encourage, are there ways to do that that are going to not get you in trouble? Do you have resources, plants that you shouldn't plant? A lot of people have gone to clover, for instance. Does the city have any position on this kind of thing?
Well, going back to your, the comment about no mow May, which has had, depending what journal article you read or who you listen to, it's either very good or it's not enough or it's not, the data is somewhat inconclusive. And I just read an article from NDSU along those lines, and while the city of Sioux Falls doesn't participate in no mow May, if you look at organizations, excuse me, like the Minnehaha Conservation Service, they have pollinator wildflower garden kits that they make available to residents. And certainly from, the perspective of doing better for the environment, those are great options. If you want to take 100 square feet, a 10 by 10 portion of your lawn out of production that's maybe hard to water, doesn't stay green anyway, those are great options. And frankly, they're better for pollinators because of the seed mixes that are in there. So certainly, and the community at Brandon, for example, their conservation committee promotes it as well. And I think that is something that we can all do in a very positive and proactive way to improve the environment, especially if you care about pollinators. And frankly, you don't need to water those types of plants once they get established. So from a lawn watering perspective or just water conservation, there's multiple benefits. So yes, I'd say we do promote those programs.
In terms of water quality, the city has no-mow strips in the parks along the river. Any policies or anything like that in terms of trying to reduce the chemical runoff? Because this is clearly part of that. Are people over fertilizing, over chemical use, over doing it on their lawns to the detriment of the water quality in and around the city?
I'm not a water quality expert, but I would say generally speaking, the city's efforts, like with the strips in the parks that are really kind of biofilters, right? That we're doing what we can to be proactive, and we just encourage property owners everywhere to just be responsible, whether it's not overwatering and wasting water, or just being aware of, excuse me, other options that are safer for the environment. That we do, the city is responsible to the state of South Dakota for the quality of water in the Big Sioux River, right? We've got a discharge permit of our own. So without speaking for Public Works, I think anything we can do individually, communally, to reduce the amount of contaminants going into the Big Sioux River, whether it's pet waste or whether it's fertilizer or pesticides, we should all be considerate of that.
Anybody else? Okay.
Thanks.